You Mob Funk Club.
What's good, YouTube? Forgot I took the mic off. But what's good, YouTube? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. See when Matt back with another video, back with another reaction. I always feel like there's content that I want to review here and there. It's not gonna be every week, but as much time as possible about the approach that people have about the pros and cons about where I'm from, Birmingham, Alabama. So, sometimes it's refreshing to look at it from the outside lens. Sometimes it can help people from the outside looking in to get more verification from a person that is born and raised in Birmingham. Just to validate a few things, to kind of give you a realistic experience, depending on a lot of different factors. So today, Adam Snow, once again, another video, a lot of things to consider. Definitely go out there and show him love. He's a great real estate agent. I think he provides a great quality of insight. And I hope he continues to create content for every aspect of Birmingham metro area. Because I think there's a lot of content to be made from that. Just to be honest, as well as a real estate agent, you definitely want to point out some gems and all of that stuff, but you also want to be able to point out some places that you could possibly, find a good spot that will actually grow in revenue and value over time. So that's what it's about. I think he has a good reference pertaining to the overall, a lot of the homes, the typing of the homes, the typing of the neighborhoods. I think he breaks it down pretty good. I think I cover a certain aspect of it, and he just knows the stuff. He knows the stuff though. Anywho, you see what I mean. We're gonna talk about how Birmingham is not for everyone, and 4 facts that you may or may not know. It might be more than 4 facts. I might add some stuff in here that might not be talked about. So we gotta sit here and see how much we can cover and see how accurate the 4 facts that he's talking about is there. It might be a bonus factor there for all we know. So you're getting a concept from his point of view, and you're also getting a little bit of my reaction and a little bit of experience from me. I want to sit there and see how valid and how accurate some of the stuff is. I cover a lot of different areas in Birmingham. I grew up and explored a lot of different areas of Birmingham. So we're going to see what we really do, All right. Let's get into it.
Before you move to Birmingham, Alabama, there are some things you need to hear. And I promise you, no one in those best places to live articles is going to tell you any of these. And look, I love this city. Love this city. Lived here a long time. I've made lots of videos about why it's so great. But loving a place means being honest about it. So today I'm giving you the real talk, the stuff that doesn't show up in the glossy relocation guides. Because if you know what you're actually walking into before you get here, you can set yourself up to thrive. And if some of this is a deal breaker for you, better to find out right now than 6 months after you've already moved. All right, we're gonna start with the weather. Let's start one that's a little bit more obvious. Obviously, it's the South, it's hot. But Birmingham summers are hot and they are humid. They're hot. We're talking about temperatures in the low to mid 90s from June through September, sometimes October. I remember going out on Halloween sometimes and being so freaking hot. And when you factor in the humidity, there is a lot of humidity here. It could feel like 100 to 105 degrees outside. If you've ever been to a place with dry heat like out west, just understand that what we have here is completely different experience. The humidity
Mhm.
wraps around you. You walk outside and within minutes, your clothes are sticking to you. People who relocate here from areas in the north or west are generally caught off guard by how the summer heat hits different in the Birmingham. It usually lasts, like I said, till September, October. It usually doesn't really get cold here until January, February. Decembers aren't really that cold. Usually Christmas time is occasionally we have a cold Christmas, but for the most part, the coldest weather is until January, February. Now, here's something most people don't think about at all.
Hold on. So before we go any further, right? Let me validate this weather. The weather. I mean, most people gonna say the weather anywhere is like a DJ request. When I tell you the weather variation is probably the same or equivalent to weather in South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, some places like that, definitely. But we can also match Texas to a degree. To a degree. Texas can get a bit hotter. What I'm gonna say is hydrate, right? Because when it finally gets warm, when it finally gets hot, it's almost like you don't really get a chance to like get a good spring in. Does that make sense? Like spring here feels like sometimes it lasts for maybe a good month, not even like a whole season. It's like a good month, maybe a few weeks, and then you're just done with eating. It's time for concerts, time for this, time for that. You got to plan accordingly. Um, I will sit here and say what he's saying is true. Most years, fall doesn't feel like fall. The only part of fall you really kind of feel to a certain extent is you'll feel more days of fall that's similar to spring. Just different. It looks different. You're gonna have cool mornings, extremely hot days, and you're gonna have to dress for both. Like if you're going somewhere that it's gonna take up your morning, or you gotta get there in the morning, and they'll take up your day, you might as well just have a sweater in your car or whatever, and then be able to adjust on the fly. Unless you have to wear a certain uniform, be able to adjust on the fly for warmer weather if you're going to come outside. Other than that, you're gonna be blowing the AC in your car. Make sure your AC works because you won't need it. Most winters, most winters are pretty decent, warm. I ain't gonna say San Diego weather, but close enough. Well, everybody doesn't mind that when we have a cold winter, but it does shut things down here a lot more just because more people up north have more equipment and trucks for winters because they deal with more winters more versus when we actually have to deal with snow I would say once every 5 to 7 years, to be honest. And it's like we're borrowing trucks from each other in other counties just to pave the main roads and then eventually get to the rest of them. We're not used to the winter weather. We have a lot of severe weather here where this is part of tornado country. So expect that to happen a lot. Expect, have shelters and invest in stuff like that. Yeah, very solid, very accurate. We, as much as we love our football, especially college football, we take our meteorologists very serious. Very serious. Like, I know a lot of y'all have y'all meteorologists. It's a different level over here. But our meteorologists don't play. They may be in competition with each other, but when shit hit the fan, hey, we listen to all of them.
All before moving to Alabama, severe weather. And I want to spend some real time on this because it is something you need to take serious. Birmingham and the surrounding areas of Jefferson County and Shelby County sit in what's called Dixie Alley. If you've heard of Tornado Alley in the Midwest, Oklahoma, Kansas, Dixie Alley is our version of that. And it runs right through Alabama, specifically right through kind of central Alabama. We get
Oh, my bad, y'all. One more thing. The humidity. Damn, I was thinking about it, but I really didn't know where to put it in at. So we're at the foot of the Appalachians, right? So to me, the best way I can describe downtown Birmingham, for the most part, is imagine downtown Birmingham as a skillet in the summertime. It bakes because it is so much lower and closer to the sea level than certain places like Homewood, Vestavia Hills, Mount Brook, even the north side of town. It just bakes more. Feels like you're in your fried bologna, boiling water a little bit. Like it can get very misty, foggy with the right type of weather. The humidity is gonna hit downtown more than anywhere else. So you try to stay in high altitude areas to kind of deal with a better set of weather. But the air index quality can be and will be challenging at times. So yeah.
Severe thunderstorm watches, tornado watches, and tornado warnings on a fairly regular basis, particularly in the spring and again in late fall. If you're someone who moved here from the Northeast, from the West Coast, or from anywhere that doesn't really deal with tornadoes, this is a real adjustment. The first time those sirens go off and your phone is going crazy with alerts, it will get your attention, and it should. The April 27th, 2011 tornado outbreak is something that every longtime Birmingham resident knows by heart. And it's one of those deadliest tornado outbreaks in American history, and it devastated part of the metro Tuscaloosa, which is about an hour from Birmingham. That event is seared into the memory of people who lived through it, and sadly, we have a couple of other tornadoes since then. Now, I don't say all this to scare you or keep you from moving here, but I do say this so you know practically if you are moving here, you do need to have a plan. You do need to know where your safe space in your home is, and it's something worth knowing when you're shopping for homes in Birmingham. Not every home here has a basement. Basements are less common in Alabama than are in maybe the Midwest or out north. So when you're house hunting, whether you have a basement or a safe room is a real conversation to have. It's also important to think about the trees that are around it. A lot of times we have a lot of really big pine trees, especially in some of the more developed communities
a lot of wind damage,
or
a lot of trees can fall down easy.
And so pine trees are one of those that has a tendency to fall more often than other trees. And so like us and like some of our neighbors, we cut a lot of our pine trees down for that reason. So those are kind of things that should never, I don't think, keep you from moving here, but I do think it's something worth knowing and it's something worth having a plan about. Now, one other thing we're going to talk about is pollen, because I feel like that's one of those that just doesn't get enough attention and absolutely should. Birmingham is consistently ranked as one of the worst cities in the entire country for allergy sufferers. The Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America puts Birmingham near the top of the most challenging cities year after year. If you've never experienced a full Alabama spring, let me paint you a picture. Your car will turn yellow. I'm not exaggerating. You'll walk outside and your car will be coated in yellow and green layer of pine pollen. It covers everything you'll see on the roads, the sidewalks, your house. It just is everywhere. People who have never had allergies in their life move here and suddenly they're sneezing constantly, their eyes are watering, and they don't understand what's happening to them. Allergy season kicks off here in late February, March, and can run all the way through May. And it's not just one type of pollen, it's tree pollen, grass pollen. These kind of overlap and stack on each other. So if you have any existing allergies or sensitivities, just know that Birmingham is going to test you. Again, I don't say all this for you to not move here. I just think it's stuff that you should know about. I have allergies and I do get affected a little bit in the spring, but it's something that you somewhat kind of get used to. But again, just kind of something to know.
don't waste your time washing your car once you start realizing the pollen covers your car. Like, unless you got like a car cover or you have a house with a garage or apartment with a garage, that will kind of help you preserve it. But if you don't have a car cover and you just be in apartments with no kind of covering to it, don't really. Everybody's used to driving with pollen dust car for a bit of time. You don't invest in the car washes until around, I ain't gonna hold you, prom, graduation time, which is late April, early May. That time zone where the pollen starts to go away a bit more. But other than that, you'll just be wasting your time. Unless you just love washing your car. And dude,
I talked about this already, but the winters here are pretty mild overall. We're not talking about months of snow and cold, but here's the thing. When Birmingham does get ice or snow, and it usually only happens once every couple years, the city shuts down. The roads are not treated the way that they would in the north. The infrastructure just isn't built for that, and people generally do not know how to drive on the ice down here. So if there's a half an inch of snow in the forecast, go ahead and stock the fridge. School will be canceled. People will be working from home, and the grocery stores will be absolutely cleaned out of bread and milk the first day you
just
get here.
cause.
If you're moving from the north, just know that that's how it is. I can't explain it. I don't know why, but the bread and the milk will be gone, guaranteed. Like I said, usually the coldest time is in January, February. The biggest snow we've had in my lifetime was actually in March. So kind of January, February, sometimes March is when it's the coldest time, and that's usually when we get the most snow. Okay, on the next one, let's talk about traffic and
So, for the people that are used to working up north, when y'all, a snow day for y'all is normal as fuck. I've seen how y'all operate. I have no problems with it whatsoever. However, the South is not equipped with that. So when we have snow days, people are not used to it. People don't plan for it. City trucks don't be planning for it. Unless the meteorologists tell us for once in a while, like I said, once every 5, once every 7 years, then we don't really expect it for real, for real. We don't know how to drive in it enough. We get the hang of it kind of if it's long enough, but after a while, we just go right back to that warm, decently warm base. So we don't know how to act. Schools be shut down, kids be at home, daycares be closed. Just expect that. Expect your work to be able to understand that you're going to be out for the count for a little bit or have a backup plan. Because down here, it just doesn't work out the way it works out in the north. And I've been up to the DMV area, I've been up to Cleveland, I've been up to the Midwest. So
getting around Birmingham, because this is something that catches a lot of people off guard, especially people moving here from larger cities that have real public transportation. Let me be straightforward with you. Birmingham is a car city. You do need a car. There is a public transit here, MAX, the Metropolitan Area Express bus system, but it's limited in its reach, and it's not going to replace having your own vehicle, especially if you're living in the suburbs. If you're coming from a city where you could hop on a train or a subway and get anywhere you needed to without a car, places like New York, Chicago, Atlanta, some of the bigger cities, Birmingham has spread out. The suburbs stretch in every direction, and the infrastructure was built around the car. There's no light rail, there's no subway, and the bus routes don't cover the metro in a way that makes car-free living a realistic option for most people. That means every single person in the Birmingham metro is driving everywhere all the time, and that brings me to traffic congestion. Now, Birmingham is not Atlanta. Let me be clear about that. I've had conversations with people that lived in Atlanta when I say Birmingham traffic is bad, and I've drove through Atlanta, so I will never compare myself to it, Atlanta traffic. But the traffic here has gotten significantly worse as the metro has grown. And there are specific corridors that will generally test your patience on a daily basis if you live in those areas. Highway 280 is one I hear about the most from people who've moved here. 280 runs from downtown Birmingham through Mountain Brook, Vestavia Hills, all the way into Shelby County. And it's one of the most congested roads in the state of Alabama at rush hour. What should be a 20-25 minute drive can easily stretch to 45 minutes to an hour if traffic is stopped. And the thing about 280 is that the growth in Shelby County keeps outpacing what the road can handle. When my wife first moved to Birmingham, she lived in Chelsea for a little while and she taught in Homewood. And she tells this story all the time that one particular day, what usually is about a 30-minute drive turned into a 4-hour drive because there was a wreck on 280 and it took her 4 hours to get home. Now, of course, that's not every day, but 280 usually is pretty packed, especially during those going home or going to work times. I-65, I-20, and I-459 all have their problem spots too, particularly in the morning between 7 and 9 and in the afternoons between 4 and 6. And here's something I generally recommend to anyone who's relocating to Birmingham and trying to decide where to live. Drive the commute before you commit to a neighborhood. Drive it at rush hour, because where you choose to live in the metro has a very real impact on your day-to-day quality of life. The other piece of this road condition varies a lot depending on which city you're in. Some areas in the metro are very well maintained. Homewood and Mountain Brook, for example, are kept up well. Other areas have road conditions that leave a lot to be desired. Potholes are a real thing in parts of the city, and it's one of those quality of life details that you really only notice once you're living here. So if you're someone who used to not owning a car or you're hoping to rely on public transit, I want to make sure you're going about this realistically. Budget for a reliable vehicle, budget for gas, and factor your commute into where you decide to plant yourself in the metro. It matters a lot more here than it would in different cities. Now, there are areas of town that are more walkable. If you really, really want walkability, let's look at downtown. Specifically on the north side, you can walk to pretty much any restaurant in Birmingham. There's other areas. Highland Park is very walkable. Parts of Homewood are very, very walkable. So there are areas of town that are more walkable than others. So if that's something that's a big, big thing on your list, then there are areas that target that a little bit better. But overall, Birmingham is definitely not a walkable city. It's definitely a city that you can't get by without a car. All right, cost.
Let me see if I can get through this quick. Traffic sucks. Not even close to Atlanta though. Like the outskirts of Atlanta annoy me more than dealing with 280 traffic, whatever. But it's still, you don't want to deal with traffic regardless. As a person that knows back roads to get from one side of town to the other, you're going to invest some time, regardless. Have some patience, either way. When you're in the main part of downtown, let's say if you heading through downtown to one side of town to the other, then yes, you have extra amount of roads that you can take until it narrows down to a bunch of roads, either north, south, or east and west, that everybody is going to combine together, and y'all still going to be dealing with traffic in that regard outside of the freeway. So, just listen to a podcast, multitask, plan accordingly, just kind of embrace for it. Especially if you always get off around traffic time, just get a hang of the traffic. Early morning when everybody's coming into the Birmingham area, the metro Birmingham area to work, and when they going out, or when it's close to the weekend, it's even more controversial because, and I'm gonna use 280 for example. 280, you're going home, and simultaneously, people are going to restaurants along the way to 280 to try to live their lives after they got home and might come back. Not to mention, if you live on the outskirts of Metro Birmingham or within the Metro Birmingham, you might still turn around and come back towards closer to Birmingham or downtown Birmingham for the entertainment. So imagine doing all of this, and then the road is still getting worked on by the people on the freeway. People working on the freeway at all times of night and stuff like that. So traffic is going to be there, regardless. You just got to figure out how to tackle it. A lot of people kind of make it frustrating. It's a combination of a bunch of slow drivers being in the wrong lane, and then when they finally need to get somewhere, they're jumping in front of people that would drive faster and still not speeding up in the passing lane. That's how traffic ends up happening a lot. A lot of bad, non-using signals, the typical traffic type stuff. To a certain degree, you get frustrated. So it's not as bad as Atlanta is worse because I've been in traffic on the outskirts before even coming across Atlanta at all. But it's definitely something you still have to embrace for. I would say that.
So living. I know what you've heard. Birmingham is affordable. Alabama is cheap, and your dollar goes farther here. And relative to a lot of major metros, that is still true. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But I want to push back on some of the assumptions people make because there are some specific things about the cost of living here that generally surprise people who move here from out of state. And let's start with taxes. Alabama does have a state income tax, 3 brackets ranging from 2% up to 5%. 5% is not the highest in the country, and Alabama does allow you to deduct your federal income tax paid at the state level, which helps offset it. But if you're moving here from a state with no income tax like Florida or Texas, this is an adjustment to your take-home pay that you do need to factor in. But here's a tax piece that doesn't get talked about nearly enough, the sales tax. Birmingham's total sales tax hits 10%. That's 4% state, 2% Jefferson County, and 4% city. 10% on purchases adds up fast, and people who move here feel it immediately at the register. And before you assume groceries are exempt, they're not. Alabama taxes groceries. The state recently reduced the grocery rate slightly, but you're still paying sales tax on your food every single week. For people coming here from states where groceries are completely tax exempt, that's one that catches people off guard every single time. Now let's talk about housing, because the narrative that Birmingham is this incredibly cheap housing market is getting more and more outdated. Yes, prices here are lower than a lot of the major cities, but home prices in the metro have climbed significantly over the last 4 to 5 years, and the most desirable parts of the metro, you are paying for it. If you're looking in Homewood, Mount Brook, Vestavia Hills, which are areas that come up constantly for people who want good schools, walkability, neighborhood character, a move-in ready home is going to run you $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, depending on the size and location. Those aren't small town prices, and the inventory in those areas is tight because everyone wants to be there, which keeps the pressure on the prices. And it's also not uncommon for some of these areas to get multiple offers still. That is still a thing in some of these areas, which pushes the price higher and higher and higher. I had a buyer try to find a house in Edgewood, which is kind of the center part of Homewood. We were on our 5th offer before we got it, and we had to pay $50,000 over. Now, this is not $1 million house. This was a house that was listed at $650,000 that we had to bid all the way up. Over in Shelby County, Hoover, Pelham, Helena, Chelsea, Alabaster, you'll find more square footage for your money, but even those markets have gotten more competitive because people figure it out and are flooding in. Homeowner insurance, car insurance are 2 more things that people don't think about until they get here and they get their first quote. Alabama has had significant storms and weather exposure, and insurance companies price that in. Your homeowner's insurance here might be higher than you were paying somewhere else, and Alabama car insurance rates have crept up as storm-related claims have increased over the region. And then there's summer utility bills. Running your air conditioning through a hot, humid Alabama summer costs real money. Depending on the size of your home and how your home is insulated, you could looking at electric bill that are several $100s a month during peak summer months. Obviously, it's not a deal breaker, but in parts of the true cost of living picture, that doesn't show up in the headline numbers. So here's my honest take. Birmingham is still generally more affordable than most major metros in the country. And that is a real advantage. But do not move here expecting everything to be dirt cheap, because that picture is outdated. If you want to talk through the real cost of living looks like here for your specific situation, your budget, the area you're considering, what taxes and insurance actually look like, reach out to me. happy to help. One other thing to mention here is that Birmingham is a city with strong church culture. Churches here have not just a place of worship, they're a community hubs. They're how people meet, how they build their social circles, how they find their people. If that's part of your life, Birmingham is going to feel very natural, and it can be one of the fastest paths to building a real community here. There are tons and tons of great churches here. Again, if that's your thing, this is going to be a great place. If there's not, that's okay. There's tons of other great places and things to meet people. We have some great gyms that you can join. I live over here in West Homewood. Nexus is a very popular gym. There's tons of great people there. There's always all kinds of great things. Pepper Place has a farmer's market on Saturday mornings. It's another great place. It is always filled with people throughout the year. There's hiking clubs, cycling groups, a really thriving food and restaurant scene full of people who are passionate about this city. The key is giving it time, putting yourself out there. Birmingham is not going to come to you, but if you show up with an open mind, you're willing to invest in place, you'll find your people here. I've seen it happen over and over again. I'm going to end on one that I think is a little bit more funny, but if you are moving to Birmingham, know that this is Alabama and we take our football very serious. So know that you'll hear the Alabama Auburn thing all the time. This is something that's been going on all my life, all my dad's life, all my grandfather's life. The rivalry runs deep here, and it's not anything that's going away anytime soon. I say all to say football is a real thing here. People love their football. So anytime from August, whenever football ends, late January, that's what people are doing in the fall here. We love our football. But if you do end up, let's say, picking a side, this actually could be one of the best ways to plug into community here. College football season is a communal experience in Birmingham. It's a way that I have not seen anywhere else. Tailgates, watch parties, neighborhood gatherings. Football brings people together here in a way that generally is fun once you're a part of it. But if sports are not your thing at all, just know that it is a very significant part of the social fabric you'll be navigating around it. So look, everything I told you because I want to be informed. Look, everything I've told you because I want you to be informed. Not because I'm trying to talk you out of moving here. Birmingham is a city I believe in. I chose to build my career here, and I generally think it's one of the most underrated cities in the country. Like every city, it has its issues, and I want you to be informed. But again, I think it's a fantastic place. If you have any questions about anything
Hold up,
I
y'all.
didn't
I need to move myself so y'all can see this. There we go.
cover or did cover and you want more answers about it, all my information is below. Love to help. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
Hold up. We're gonna go back here. Hold up.
Behind every Main Street storefront, every online shop.
Before you move, key here generally is
So there's a lot to say. There's a lot to fill in from my end, right? And I'm gonna keep it 100. Keep it 100 with y'all. To those families that can afford a 200,000, 300,000 to 700,000 home, the areas that he has covered definitely are worth. He described it with a lot of description, very accurate. These will be the places that everybody aims to that can fit their ability and their bracket of income there, right? But generally, for people, whether it's black or white people, but more black people gonna live here, there are a lot of neighborhoods that's not being discussed that is a hit or miss. I ain't gonna lie to you. I would say the most incorporate or the most mixed group of people out of all the locations he named for the most part would be Homewood is top. Vestavia Hills will be third, I want to say. I want to say Highland Park and the South Side will kind of be tied second. Um, Mountain Brook, I would say Pelham before Mountain Brook, to be honest. As far as mixture, diversity. If you don't care for diversity, go to Mountain Brook. Go to those places still. I think Pelham is a little bit further down south, probably about a good 20 or 30 minutes. But it's worth your bang for your buck. If you're trying to get more land, you're trying to get a nicely designed house, but for the price that you would have paid in Homewood or Mountain Brook or something like that, you could get a lot more in Pelham and Alabaster and Hoover. They don't even bring up Hoover. Hoover is vast, but Hoover is also just as expensive as Vestavia Hills and all of that stuff, right? They didn't bother to bring up Trussville on this one. Trussville is going to be on the east side of town. That kind of is right on the outskirts. Irondale is on the outskirts, on the same direction of Trussville. Like Trussville will be northeast. Irondale will be southeast, which is right next to Mountain Brook, right? So those areas, you could get a little bit more bang for your buck in Irondale. Irondale should grow, to be honest. I mean, they grow slow as far as incorporating a lot more stuff. But if you want stuff that's equivalent to the options that you have in 280 or in Vestavia Hills or Hoover, because Mountain Brook doesn't really stack up like that. Vestavia Hills does. I definitely would say Trussville would be the east side of that, for the east side. McCullough would be the west side. Bessemer is probably one of the most interesting things that they don't talk about, because one side of Bessemer, the houses is low, the crime rate is going to be high, but you still have pockets of areas that can be decently built based on the type of community that decided to build on a few blocks, right? And then there's the other part of Bessemer that's closer to McCullough, that's like new development, $200,000-$300,000 houses. It starts to feel like Hoover. It starts to feel like they don't even talk about Ross Bridge. Ross Bridge is on the west of Homewood. It's expensive, right? It's like Mountain Brook expensive, but different, like modern day, if you will. There's a lot of neighborhoods that are not discussed where it's like, due to the crime rate, I'm not even gonna lie to you, that's why the rate of the houses is low. But there's a lot of what's the term for it? Is it cubby hole? No. There's a lot of small pockets within all these neighborhoods where there's some really nice, well organized or neighborhoods that take care of each other, look after each other, believe into making something out of their few streets or few blocks or their neighborhood. And then the rest of it kind of is like scattered, still work in progress, still work need to be done. You know, trouble will follow you there or find you there. So I'm not gonna lie, like, but if you sit there and do your homework, you and a few other people can make a neighborhood off of 1 or 2 blocks and find a way to separate yourself from the rest of the riffraff or distractions or negativity and all that stuff. You can make it the most of it that way. You definitely want to survey. And when I talk about Birmingham in that regard, I would say the north side first, because that would be the better place to start looking. Then I would say the east and west sides of Birmingham. They don't talk about a west end. They don't talk about Hensley, the trouble areas. They don't talk about Fairfield that is trying to pick themselves back up. There's a growing close-knit community. They don't talk about Eastlake, Center Point, which is not that far from Trussville, or they don't talk about Huffman, which is right next to Clay Chalkville and Hubert Trussville. All these places that have potential, you just got to have enough people that did enough homework. And there's places that can grow and grow value, especially with the homes, especially on the east side, as far as I know, once you get past the golf course on Eastlake. Things like that. So there's a lot. Evergreen Bottom, Pacifico, that's the steel plant that's still open to this day. They call it Powderly. There's a few other areas, Evergreen Bottom, North Birmingham. There's a few areas that if people invest into it well enough to just kind of establish it in a certain way, that it could be done. It could be growing. People will start wanting to invest in certain areas and stuff like that. But I can understand why these areas are not being talked about either. But for Black families, minority families, these are going to be the places where you find a lot of property for a lot. You could like buy the property, work on it, flip it, this, that, and the other. Just do your homework and understand the crime rate around the areas, and you have to look very thorough. I ain't gonna say thorough. You can just drive around, and you would notice in each side of town that there's pockets of neighborhoods that has potential there, where people just build right there and hope that people start picking up on certain things and want to join the group. You know, so that's my take on it. Y'all let me know in the comments sections down below what y'all think. If y'all interested, right? If y'all interested in hearing for the neighborhoods that's gonna be like under 300,000 or more affordable, that might have a little bit of crime rate, but there's gonna be pockets of areas that you can make something out of with the right people, let me know. We'll do a video for that for sure. I want to make sure that all of Birmingham is being covered because I want y'all to know what y'all getting yourselves into. There is a way to pocket some money for sure, just not as much when you're going to these metro Birmingham areas that he talks about. You got to be well established. Compared to LA and New York and stuff like that, this will be a breeze. Vestavia and all this stuff will be a breeze. But I can sit there and do a video for the rest of the areas as well. And I think there are some secret gems within there, and I will gladly discuss that with y'all if y'all interested. So let me know in the comment section down below. And until next time. Oh wait, football is as religious as religion. He was correct about that. Right? We don't play about it. You gotta figure out if you're an Auburn or Alabama fan. Most people are gonna ask you, doesn't mean you have to follow it, but you will understand over time why, whether you choose not to. You will understand why. A lot of crazy moments can band you together and bond and stuff like that for that purpose. During football season, a lot of events, a lot of places will host Alabama Auburn games strictly to draw in business. But I ain't gonna lie to you, for y'all that's not into sports, there is a lot more to do. There is art, there's theater, there's theater downtown that people can enjoy art and all of that stuff on the north side of town. There is something for everybody to do: live music, nature. If you're a person that really want to get into nature, and you're just coming from an area that doesn't have too many parks or this, that, and the other, definitely you will have that opportunity down here. The bus system, because technically other areas in the metro outside of the inner city, Birmingham, don't really want to invest into the bus system too tough. And they will have to pay a certain amount of money to get other cities to buy into that. It's like there's not enough people to catch the bus. Like most people are not pushed or incentivized to catch the bus more, which is why you don't even have the bus system we have is very limited. And most people usually drive cars. So definitely will be a lot of a change for people that is used to metros like Atlanta, DC, New York, LA. Definitely a life-changing pace of speed, but it's not impossible. All right. Other than that, I can talk to y'all all day about stuff, but damn, we got a lot of time. We got to cut out of this about 50-minute video. Until next time, until next video. Peace, y'all. I hope this helped. I really hope this helped. I wanted to be able to cover all different types of people. There's a lot of food restaurants. Birmingham, we are growing more and more and more about different types of foods and scenery. So definitely, I'll say visit. Always visit here before you invest yourself here. All right. Later, y'all. Y'all can hear my accent.